welcome to this little Q&A video. I got a lot of questions, so I decided to divide them into 3 different themes, and I'm going to start by talking about creativity and inspiration. And I thought I'd start by talking a bit about what I'm inspired by. That question, like, what are your inspirations? That's probably the most common question every artist gets, and I used to hate getting it because I couldn't think of a good answer. It's like everything around me, I couldn't think of anything in particular, just like there's not like a particular artist that inspires me or something. Everything you see or hear or experience becomes like part of your inner library of ideas. So that's like the big answer, but I've thought about it a lot and I realised that what inspires me the most in general are stories. There might be like stories told in a picture or fairy tales or all sorts of stories. That's really what my main inspiration is, which I didn't really realise before, but that's it. At least to me, there are 2 different types of inspiration, and it's the visual inspiration. It could be colours, it could be artistic style, but it's all like visual. The other type of inspiration is just like imagination inspiration, what inspires what happens in a picture. This type of inspiration is probably more important to me because what I personally find interesting in a picture is more to do with what's happening in it. If it's interesting, if it's like mysterious, if something exciting is going on. That's what I love in a picture. I mean, obviously I like a pretty picture as well, but I'm not that interested in pictures that are just pretty with nothing interesting happening. Some more specific things would be like there was a book of John Bauer illustrations. Well, it was a book of fairy tales, or folk tales. His pictures have had a huge impact on the way I draw, I think you can tell, especially in the way I draw trees and forests. It's still very much Bauer. Another thing with the John Bauer's illustrations that's been a big influence on the way I draw is the line work, I think. Like strong contours around everything. You can definitely see the influence. There was also another book of it with the illustrations that was really a big inspiration to me. It was a very old book of H.C. Andersen's fairy tales, and especially the illustrations for The Little Mermaid, which is my favourite fairy tale. They were so beautiful and inspired me so much, like influenced my style, and I should look it up and show some pictures sometime because it's really special and really beautiful. And I don't even know the name of the illustrator. I think it's a female illustrator. It's no one famous, but yeah, I love that book. Like storybook illustrations in general have been a big inspiration. I was always borrowing books from the library to look at the illustrations. A lot of them were illustrated by Russian illustrators. They're the ones I remember, and I'm probably not saying these names close to correctly, but Andrei Dugin and Olga Dugina and Gennady Spirin, they were some of the illustrators I really admired. When I got a little bit older, I discovered Theodor Kittelsen, a Norwegian illustrator, who's probably my favourite artist if I had to pick one. I also eventually discovered other fairy tale illustrators like Rackham, Dulac. I've also been very inspired by like surrealist art and symbolist art, and I think that's a combination of visual inspiration, but even more so like imagination inspiration. I'm more inspired by the mood and what happens in the pictures rather than the style. More recent visual inspirations have been pulp magazine covers, movie posters from the past, like horror films in general. Toys and cartoons are also a big inspiration, especially growing up, but I'm still really into toys, so yeah, that's an inspiration. But it could also just be like things like a color combination or something you see in nature or whatever. Personally, I'm often inspired by like underwater stuff in nature, animals and just slimy things underwater. A huge inspiration for me since I was a child has been folklore and mythology, especially the folklore of Sweden and the other Nordic countries as well. I'd say I was pretty surrounded by folklore growing up, just local folklore and Swedish folklore. There were books in my house. I live in a part of Sweden that's like very into folklore. There's a very strong folk culture in that part of Sweden, and I've never really had to look far for that sort of inspiration. It's always been there. But I'm also really inspired by Greek mythology, any mythology. That's always been one of my big interests growing up, just learning about mythology and folklore. Another folklore related thing that was very inspirational to me was a play. Local outdoor summer plays are really common in, well, at least in my part of Sweden. The neighbouring town to the town where I grew up has one called The Troll Wedding, which I used to watch pretty much every year, which retells a local folklore legend, which is also common in other parts of Sweden and other parts of the world as well, I think. It's basically about a girl who gets taken away to become bride to a troll. Anyway, that play was so atmospheric and it was such a big inspiration for my interest in folklore, and obviously also inspiring me to draw things. Because yeah, all of the things I love, like all of the things I want to learn about and read about, that's the inspiration for everything that I do. I also got a question asking whether I'm inspired by dreams, and I would say not that much. I have drawn pictures inspired by dreams, but it's not a big inspiration. However, I am very inspired by like the mood in dreams. Like, that's something that I would like to be able to capture in a picture, but I don't think I'm good at it. That's something I love in like surrealist art. Leonard Carrington and Remedios Varo both. I love the way they capture that dream-like feeling. I mean, I wouldn't say they're a big influence on the visual aspect of my work, or possibly any aspect at all. They're just, I just love the pictures. But then again, everything's an inspiration. It probably just moves into something else that comes out in my pictures. So even though I think it's difficult to say like how to get inspired, just be interested in things and learn about them and think about things. Anyway, I do have some specific suggestions on at least how to utilize that inspiration. One thing that I do is that I try to write down ideas that I have in my sketchbooks. It could be a full idea for a picture, or it could just be like one thing, like a color combination or like a thing, and then maybe I'll go back and like combine a bunch of them into a picture later. I will write down ideas, and I will also sketch ideas if it's just like a specific hat or something that I just want to put in a picture sometime. And I'll also make like full little thumbnails of pictures I plan to make in the future. I find that it's really good to have a record of the things that you think of when you think of them, because at least I have so many ideas, but I would forget them if I didn't write them down. Another thing I would say is to have a folder of inspiration. I have a folder on my computer where I save like pictures I like, and it really could be anything. I have pictures of like lichen, and I've got other artists' pictures. It could be like a specific text that I want to use for like a comic font or something, and yeah, I've got lots of pictures of armor. Like I take pictures of things I find inspirational when I see them, and I put them in that folder, and I think that's a good help if you're stuck sometimes. Personally, I've never had like artist's block. I think my problem is the opposite, that I've got too many ideas, and it makes me a bit scared sometimes that I'm never going to finish them all. I'll just have to accept that I can just keep making things for as long as I can, and it's going to be like a huge backlog of stuff that I will never get made. I do have to like wait for the right mood to strike. I'm not always in the mood to make a particular picture, even though I've written it down and I want to make it later. But it's not always the right time for a particular picture, but the time will usually come later. Sometimes I'll start working on a picture and it's not really working out. I'm not feeling too good about it, and I'll just leave it. But I'll pick it up like 2 years later or something, and it'll feel just right, and I'll finish it and I'll love it. And another question I got was about how to develop a style. I've never been like that into developing my style, which I probably should have done. I've mostly just been interested in drawing an interesting picture with an interesting story in it. I don't have a strong stylized style, which is something I think that people like and respond to, especially on the internet. It's what becomes popular when someone has a really distinct style, and I really don't. My style is, I guess, mostly inspired or influenced by illustrators, storybook, fairy tale illustrators. It's like fairly realistic, but not like photorealistic. It's, if you're looking to like get your own style, I would say don't fret about it. Do try out all the styles you want to, like copy other artists, just don't show the pictures. I mean, that's what everyone has been doing like since forever. Sometimes I'll see another artist's work and I think, oh, I really like that thing, like the way they draw water or something, and I'll try it out, and sometimes that thing will become a part of my style, and that's, I think, how it works. I mean, you try something and it becomes part of your style, and you try lots of different things and things just develop naturally. I have been like, oh no, I don't have a style, I'll never have a style, my work's not coherent, and then later on I realised that it is quite coherent, even though I don't have that ultra stylized personal style. There is a coherence to it, and it's just come naturally. And don't get caught up in trying to develop a style before you've learned like the basics. Not everyone wants to draw like perfect anatomy or know all the technical stuff. I'm not the most technical artist at all, but I still think it's good to like know at least your basics, what you think is important, before you try to like force a style onto it, because that style will come eventually. I'd also like to share this book, which I think is great if you're not already feeling inspired and creative. I got this book in '94, and if I ever had to teach art, this is the book I would use. This is a Swedish translation, obviously, but I've looked it up, and it's called Painting a Young Artist's Guide. And it's got all these great ideas for like things to try out. It's all about experimenting and finding what you like. Try painting things with complementary colours, or try pointillism. Draw something with just earth colours. I love this assignment where you pick words out of these boxes to make a scene, like wizard, terrified, circus, knight, for example. Try to paint something that's moving, try lots of different painting techniques, try just painting light and shadow. This book is the reason I still draw this kind of thumbnail sketch before I make a real picture. And it's also the reason I discovered Leonora Carrington. I hope some of this was helpful or enlightening, and if you want more, I have some in-depth posts about my inspirations on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching.